Hey everyone, it's Katie and Mike. Say hi, Mike.
Hi everybody.
We just, well, relatively recently, we might have gone home and then come back and decided, because I'm driving back up to Chicago tonight, so we went home and packed, and now we're actually driving to Chicago. But before we did that, Mike was really adamant about seeing a movie this weekend.
Yes, we should really start seeing more movies.
Yeah, it's been busy. But we went to see The Hunger Games, which one is this?
Catching Fire Part 2?
No, it's Mockingjay Part 2.
Ah.
Catching Fire was the first one, and I think it only had one. We have still not read the books. We got through
we went through
every review for every movie, because we saw every movie in the theaters. And we kept saying, oh, we should really read the books. And we did. We got through the entire movie franchise, including two, like the last book being split up into two movies, and we still didn't see, or we didn't read the damn books. So we have very little clue what was changed, what was focused on. I did hear that the ending, like, someone who really hated the ending of the book thought that they did a better job, like it made more sense in the movie, but was still kind of stupid. But it made more sense, so they were like, good job on the movie for making it be less crappy. I thought that there were some interesting things brought up, and I thought that there was also a lot of, like, things that did not translate particularly well to a movie format, and some of that was probably the fact that the book was split up into two movies, but some of it was simply because, like, they were underground for so long. Like, a lot of the scenes were just set underground, and there was also, like, there were just elements of the movie that maybe worked better in the book but felt really anticlimactic. So I feel like if you were watching this as a full, like, as a marathon, maybe you would feel there'd be more sense of...
More cohesiveness.
A more sense of a full story, and a story that kind of made sense from beginning to end. But just this movie on its own, after like months and months and months since we saw the first part of the Mockingjay story, it's okay, but not great. Like, it wasn't particularly enjoyable to me.
This was not an enjoyable film to me. It was...
There are parts that I actually thought were interesting.
Yes, there were interesting things, and there were good things. There were scenes that were well acted at times.
But there was also a lot of, like, working parts that felt like they didn't get enough focus. And it was very similar. I'm sure it's exactly the way that people who never read the Harry Potter movies, who never read the Harry Potter books, but watched all the Harry Potter movies, including the last one, how they felt about the last two films. Because there are certainly elements of that felt like super rushed and like crammed together, and I'm certain that that's how it was for people who like this series. So yeah, I guess I don't even know what to say about it.
This is normally the part where we break down what the plot of the movie was about.
It's so hard.
Here's the thing: this movie was like sort of so molassesy. Like, it was slow, and it was just sort of like, the plot is, hey, the war has been going on for a while, let's have some melodrama going on between the friends, and also and I guess we need to end the war and have the big conclusion. That's basically what this movie is. And it is very obvious that it was split up, like, that the first part and the second part were not supposed to be originally split up. I don't think they necessarily work well. I don't know how well they would have worked together as, like, a full movie, but I don't know if there was enough for each of them to split them up either. It's a very awkward, like, middle ground. Because I'm sure that a lot of stuff would have been cut out if it was only one movie. Here's the thing I'm gonna say. Jennifer Lawrence, right?
Yeah.
She is too good for this movie.
I know! She's a very good actress. Actually, and there were some good performances. Is it Josh Hutcherson? I can't talk. Yeah, Hutcherson.
Really? You liked him?
I thought that he did a good job considering that he had, like, really challenging stuff in front of him, you know?
I thought he was boring milquetoast.
Which one are you talking? Peeta?
Not Peeta, the other dude.
No, that's Liam Hemsworth. That's Chris Hemsworth's brother. No,
he was boring.
Yeah, but I'm talking, Josh Hutcherson was Peeta.
Oh, Peeta?
Yeah.
Okay, Peeta at least had stuff.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I don't think anybody, very few people, one of the things I've heard is that, like, Gale is always awful. That they're like, shut up, Gale, stop talking about how you would totally kill people, and you don't mind it. Like, yeah.
He's the Mako of this universe.
Except, like, oh wait, yeah, Mako. Yeah, kind of. I don't know. I don't think you give Mako quite enough credit. Mako's a more developed character.
Very true. Mako is a more developed character.
Woody Harrelson continues to be great as Haymitch.
Yes, he is fabulous as that character. I really do love that character.
And I actually liked Donald Sutherland as President Snow. And towards the end. Yeah, I thought he did. I really
wanted more stuff with him and Katniss.
Yeah.
That's what I want out of this movie, and they didn't deliver that very much.
I do appreciate the fact that, like, there's a part where he says, I thought we agreed we would never lie to each other. Or he said, like, I would, and you do get the sense that, like, he will lie to everyone else, but he was being quite honest. Now, he wouldn't be nice about it, and he was totally, like, being sneery and mocking of her, but he was very frank about the fact that he would not lie to her.
If there's anything that I would have wanted out of an ending to this movie is to have her and Snow just be this, like Snow be her Magneto. Just someone that Professor X keeps in the cage and talks to when he needs to.
Maybe.
Like Magneto at the end of X2.
You know who the dynamic I really liked was Joanna, like Jenna Malone. You know, the girl that they brought back.
Yeah.
Her and Katniss's dynamic, which I've heard, like, is something that is a fan favorite, like those two kind of playing off each other. And there is this sense of, like, because she talks about how, like, Joanna talks about how she hates Katniss, but you really know that under all that, like, sneering and bitterness that she doesn't, because as soon as Katniss says, I'm gonna kill Snow, she just starts smiling, and she's like, so I find those two so interesting, and I was really mad we didn't get to see more of that towards the end, because she was barely in the last movie. Again, it was a super bummer, and also because Jenna Malone is going to play someone with red hair in the DCU movies.
And you're hoping it's Barbara?
I'm hoping it's Barbara. Like, I'm sorry, she's like playing it. She's being introduced, presumably, in the new Batman vs. Superman movie, and, like, in my brain, I'm thinking it just makes sense. So I'm hoping that that's how it goes down. Besides that, I'm trying to think if there are any other performances in particular. We didn't get to see enough of Elizabeth Banks as Effie, even though I was glad that she was in it.
Yeah, she's really one of those characters that, like, really ties the series together.
Yeah, same thing with Stanley Tucci. You see him in one scene, but I was really appreciative that they were able to slide him back in for one more scene.
Yeah.
You know, I would have really liked to find out what happened to him.
I would have, found out what happened to him, or at least actually seen it from the show point of view rather than on a television screen.
Yeah.
Like, actually seen the studio that he was working from.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Which may have just been a green screen.
Probably, yeah.
You know,
and then,
with the Capitol in ruins.
Then Natalie Dormer was in it, you know, as with her side cut, which was awesome. And then Eldon Henson, who played in Daredevil. What was his best friend in Daredevil? The best friend character in Daredevil. What was his name?
Foggy.
Foggy, yeah.
Sorry, I am trying to look at the road, make sure we're still going the right direction.
Are we still going the right direction?
Yes.
Good. But you know, he played the mute character.
Yes, I know.
So, and I don't know, I just liked him, even though obviously he had no
Lines.
He had no lines.
He had hand motions.
Yeah.
That I didn't understand.
I really hope that was actual sign language, and I hope that like someone online will translate that, because if it wasn't, bad form. It's not that hard to have like a few lines of dialogue translated into American Sign Language. Besides that, I really liked the commander, the one commander lady, who's Patina Miller. Do you remember her?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was really good. I think she was.
I thought you were talking about the other commander lady. The commander of Katniss's unit.
Well, yeah, she was okay too. No, the one that is one of like the main leaders of the army. She did a really good job. I think she was introduced in the last movie, but it was one of those things where like I really appreciate the actors who are only given like a couple scenes to really shine, but then they actually do a good job of what they have, because a lot of characters in this movie unfortunately have that problem. And then we'll give one more shout out to Commander Lime, who's played by Gwendolyn Christie, for one scene. So like, first of all, I had forgotten that she was in this movie. And then I saw her and I was like, oh, she's in this movie. And then after we left, I realized she was only in one scene, which is like, that is a bad use of your Gwendolyn Christie. It makes me think that like this, like she took a weekend to shoot this in between like Star Wars, and then just left and kept doing Star Wars. That's the only thing I can think of with this. So I think that's all the actors I really wanted to talk about. In general, like the performances I thought were mostly really good, considering some of the writing was hit or miss.
Yeah, a lot of the dialogue kind of feels like over verbose, is what I would call it.
I guess. Oh, you know what? I will say, and I'll say this. I did actually think that Julianne Moore did a good job as President Coin.
Yeah.
I thought, I mean, considering what the character was and everything, I thought she did a really good job of playing that very composed, knows exactly what she's doing sort of politician. And I thought she played that really well. I guess we'll just talk really quickly about the basic plot. So it starts off where it ended, which is essentially Katniss recovering after a brainwashed Peeta tries to kill her. And apparently the brainwashing must have happened really quickly, because I remember him being there, like it only taking maybe a day or so for that, between like his last video recording and her coming to rescue him.
It could have been that he was brainwashed over a long period of time.
But I remember him talking to her as if he still trusts her. I don't know. It was a weird, like they didn't imply nothing about the footage of him talking to her as time went on implied that he had been brainwashed to hate her until the very end of that movie. But so he's like slowly recovering, but he still like despises her, and he thinks that she's lying, because that's what was kind of like put into his head while he was given these hallucinogen drugs. And so she decides that she's going to that Katniss is going to go among the ranks and infiltrate the Capitol, because they're really close. They had just taken down the second sector, or whatever it's called.
They took down District 2, and Katniss was there on the front line.
And that was it's not that it was a boring scene, it just went on for a long time. I will say this, actually.
It was a fight that was really boring because nobody fought.
Yeah, I will say this, and this is where Jennifer Lawrence's acting really pays off, is there's that scene where she has a gun, like someone is from...
One of the refugees escaping the military camp, which was filled with civilians and military.
Puts a gun to Katniss's head, and she has this like really close one-on-one moment with him where she's saying how, you know, none of, you know, why are we fighting? I don't know. It was actually really well written, and I believed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of the lines of dialogue, as far as like big speeches, feel very scripted. Partially because they are. Like the whole idea is that like a lot of the high officials are very into scripted stuff, so I can appreciate that. But that scene in particular, I will say that Jennifer Lawrence really nailed it. Like I believed this was really Katniss just saying, I'm tired of doing this. So if you're gonna shoot me, because I want it to be done. So yeah, that was good, but there were just a lot of like bits and pieces in the early part of this movie that were really, it just took forever. So she finally...
And also early on, it's so weird that like she's like early on, her written and stuff, like she has that conversation with the other dude, Milktoast Boy, and you know, it's like, I don't know what's in your head, and she's like, I don't know either, and then she just kisses him, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's the thing. I really don't like the love triangle in this movie.
And it's the weakest part of the entire series.
Yeah, it really is. I don't care about Gale at all. I actually do like the relationship between Peeta and Katniss. I think that there's a lot of interesting moments there. But the fact that it's like, I don't know, the fact that it's like, it's so similar to, it's really similar to the whole Jacob and Edward thing, except not nearly as toxic. I gotta say that, like, the Peeta and Gale are not nearly as toxic or as like predatory about the girl that they like, which I can appreciate. But it's still just one of those things where it's like, I am so tired of two guys feeling like they will make a girl choose over them, and it just, I never really liked it. So,
and they devote a lot of focus to that whole thing. Like, whenever it's a scene where, because there's a lot of scenes in this movie where they're getting rest at some kind of rest stop on their way to the Capitol.
Yeah.
And, you know, as they're storming the Capitol, and it's like, you know, that, if it's not a scene about how Peeta's brainwashed, it's a scene about Peeta and Gale talking about who's going to be with Katniss. You know? That happens a lot.
I will say, the whole thing with Peeta and like his mental health and stuff, I thought was interesting, and I like the fact that it takes him a long time to recover and there's a lot of PTSD going on. We are in the middle of watching Jessica Jones right now, so like we've had a whole weekend of seeing a main character that is dealing really heavily with trauma and PTSD issues and trying to get over that, or at least trying to like survive and get us, you know, like a hold of her own mental health. Not really, like trying to like stabilize it at least, usually with alcohol. But so like we've already had that mindset going into it, which is why I could appreciate the fact that like no one really some people villainize Peeta for like the trauma he's been through, but generally the people we consider good guys don't. They're actually, like, the whole idea is that like it's not his fault, and that, you know what I mean, and that he needs time and support and everything. That's what I got out of it.
I can agree with that. They did a good job with Peeta. I think they did a lesser job of that with Katniss.
Yeah, they kind of took away, because like in the second movie, I appreciated how she was dealing with PTSD really, really in a rough way. And they kind of took that away. Like, there's some elements, but not a whole lot. The other problem is that actually the other disabilities that the victors have, what was his name? Finnick. He was supposed to have lost a leg. I think in the quelling, or whatever it was called, the second one he was in. And in the first Hunger Games that Katniss was in, she was supposed to have lost hearing in one of her ears. So there's a sense that they really could have just even included it as like an aside, like just bringing that up.
Here's what's an aside. Finnick.
Oh yeah.
Entire character in this movie.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I knew about this a long time ago because there was a Tumblr post that said something along the lines of like, like a Venn diagram. Here are beloved characters who die. Here are beloved characters that lose a leg. And it has the love interest from Fault in Our Stars, and it has Finnick. And I was like, well, there's a spoiler. That's how I knew. That's why I knew about the leg thing, because I remember hearing about that. But yeah, so like I've known before he was introduced into the movies that he was gonna die.
So, warning spoilers. Do you want to just get into spoilers?
Oh, I'm sorry. The book came out like how long ago? Also, yeah, he gets married and then immediately leaves. Immediately leaves. Of course, he basically might have been wearing a red shirt the whole time. Yeah, alright, let's just get into spoilers because we're getting deep enough into the movie, and I think we've exhausted the amount of random plot.
I think if you go past now, it's spoiler territory here. I don't even know if I'm going to put a spoiler cut here. So, cut here, maybe. I don't know.
Alright, spoilers. So, spoilers. First of all, it turns out that the government, the president that's going to be replacing the evil president is also kind of evil, or at least like really, really corrupt, and is totally okay with like Katniss maybe dying and becoming a martyr, and then she doesn't have to worry about Katniss being against her when she takes over.
Here's the thing, like we're not even there yet. I want to talk a bit more about something, and
okay, but I don't want to get stuck in the details because I do want this review to be over fairly soon.
Okay.
Because I don't have that much more to say.
Okay, Finnick is completely a footnote in this movie. He has his first scene is his marriage. His next scene is him. I'm suiting up with you guys. His next scene is pretty much him in the background until his death.
I feel like there was a thing before his wedding where he does show up.
I don't remember seeing him at all.
I thought he did, but the thing is that like in the last movie he was in it a lot, and if it was going to be one whole movie, you would have seen him a lot.
True, maybe that works. In this movie,
it doesn't work.
He walks in and dies. He's a footnote.
Yeah. So yeah, and also the scene he dies in was the worst in the damn movie, and
it's supposed to be this big action scene. It's your big mid-movie action scene.
It's in a dark tunnel with mostly CGI, like mutant monster, like really fast zombies. So like, what is it, 28 Days Later zombies?
Yeah.
And they're just like attack. And I thought they were saying like hounds, but those weren't like the hounds, and they never explained what they were besides like crazy monsters. Let's not explain.
They look like, what's that movie? Is it Pan's Labyrinth with the white guy with
a little bit, but don't give. Come on, Pan's Labyrinth had way better
creatures.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
Think of that guy, but not nearly as interesting.
It's like that plus the undead in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince mixed with the 28 Days Later zombies.
Okay.
I feel like a mixture of those as far as like speed. Like they were really fast, and Katniss lost like most of her arrows, and it was really dark, so you couldn't see anything that was going on. and you weren't sure who was left.
Yeah, people would die and you would have no idea which character they grabbed.
I will say, around that time though, the whole them sneaking in, the most interesting thing about that part were the abandoned, like, District 1 hotspots. I really liked the set design when they went into, like, the restaurant, like that little cafe restaurant thing, and it was clearly like pink tiles on the wall and like cool light fixtures, and it was and you got to see a few sets here and there where they're like camped out and like windows are broken and stuff, but it was clearly like a posh sort of like hotspot for
a nightclub or maybe a bar
or a lounge or something like that. So those parts I actually thought were interesting. There was a lot of the world building stuff that I really like about. You know what I mean?
But then they go into the sewers.
And then they go into the sewers, and it's just, there's nothing interesting about it. And it was just mostly dark. And I ended up closing my eyes during some of it, because I'm like, I know that like a couple of people are going to get killed, but I'm not going to be able to tell who it is until they get up above ground and then be able to like figure out who's died. And yeah, Finnick dies in that part, and it's not really particularly... And like, I knew it was gonna happen because I knew that character was gonna die, and he was clearly like he kept getting dragged, you know. So yeah, that was annoying.
And also, he had like a fake out death like 3 times in that scene.
Yeah.
They just grabbed him under, and then it's like, oh no, he escapes, and he starts climbing back up the ladder, and nope, the guy jumped on him, and he falls down, and then he got off that guy. Now he's gonna climb back up the ladder again. Oh nope, that time he's really dead. And then Katniss uses the Deus Ex Machina, or whatever you want to call that device, which is like the dumbest device I have ever heard of.
Yeah.
That is the most stupid piece of crap I have ever heard of.
Anyway,
do you want me to describe this device? 'Cause I can.
No, it's fine.
It is a hologram map of the city.
I told you it was fine. I want to get past this.
It has a database of all the traps, because of course the city has traps built from nowhere.
Mike.
I know, we should move on. This device was really dumb.
Yeah. Anyway, I can't think.
Storm the Capitol.
Yeah, I will say it was, I did like how Snow was really putting the idea of like these horrible rebels and how they want to destroy life in the Capitol and everything they believe, and how they're, like, basically it's the rhetoric that, politicians today use to describe, like, basically Muslims in general, you know what I mean? This idea that, like, they are here to destroy our values, and yeah, there was a lot of, like, really specific phrasing that Snow uses in his propaganda news pieces that remind me of stuff that actually is used in real life. But yeah, so they end up having to hide in this, like, in this dressmaker's basement, and she's very like sympathetic to the rebels, conveniently. To be fair, the woman in their group who finds that shop lived in the Capitol. Like, that's her whole thing. She chose to leave.
Yeah, I think actually of quite a few of the people in that unit, because they had that scene where they recreated the shots from the like the cannon fire in
I was waiting for someone to go like I didn't think I'd actually be seeing that. I always assumed that they would shoot the cannons for me. I never thought I'd actually see it. You know what I mean? Or something like that. I would find that so interesting. But yeah, like, they explained in the last movie that, like, the film crew, you know, the one that was supposed to help with the propaganda videos for Katniss, that they were pretty much all from the Capitol, and that's how they learned
how they move about the Capitol.
Yeah, exactly. But also how they, like, why they're into the video stuff.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to think what else. So yeah, they go and they decide that Gale and Katniss should try to sneak with the other with the District 1 people because they were going to be let into the mansion. And it was clearly like that was when Snow was like, no, my people, like to make sure that people were still on the side and to see, and also to kind of dare the rebels, like, you're not going to want to attack, you're going to be seen as the enemy attacking like the mansion full of children and everything. So they go, and this is where it like gets really, it's both long and also like short and anticlimactic at the same time. But they go and they're about to get caught, and then suddenly like bombs go off and like things are attacked, and again, and then
basically the rebels staged a bombing of the Capitol, but they made it look like the Capitol was bombing its own citizens and
like right out at the gates, yeah. And so then by the time the rebels get through to the mansion, all the soldiers have basically given up, all the guards for President Snow, because they are horrified by what their own country has done. And the thing is that Katniss learns about that part after, because not only is she knocked out, but she sees her sister who has decided to be a medic and help Russian and help a lot of the children that were at the front of the gates. She sees her right before Katniss sees her right before another wave of bombs go off.
So here's the thing. Earlier on in the movie, they showed Gale giving this plan that like, oh, we bomb them in one place so that they strategically move people to another area, and then we bomb them again because we know they're there.
Yeah.
And Gale had this sort of like plan thing earlier in the movie, and it was sort of like a footnote. And then I think at the end they established that maybe this was Gale's plan or something, or Katniss.
Yeah, they were not clear about this, but yeah. So she basically, when Katniss wakes up, she heals up, and it turns out that they have President Snow locked in his greenhouse until they decide what to do with him. And so Katniss goes to see him, and President Snow, or ex-President Snow, says, you know, she's going to take over. She's clearly going to try to be another me, and oh yeah, she totally was the one who bombed that area, but she made it, and he said like it was a good plan because now everybody thinks that I did it. And he said like, yes, I totally killed children, but I wouldn't do it, you know, I wouldn't be wasteful about it.
Yeah, he said he has.
It was about.
It has a purpose or something.
Yeah, Donald Sutherland was really good in, as far as being like, I don't know how to put it. I don't know. It was a really actually interesting performance because I wasn't particularly impressed by his performance in the first movie. It was okay, but like, you know, it was kind of quiet and like clearly doing evil things, rich person. And in this one, it felt way more Machiavellian, I guess. Like he got it more. And the fact is that he was being super honest with Katniss. I don't know. It was a really interesting scene. And I thought he did a really good job of pulling off, like, that particular character in that moment. Also, the last scene was good. So, like we said before, there's a sense that, like, the movie did a really good job of pointing out that just because you collapse an empire does not mean that the people leading the rebellion have the best intents for the people. Not everybody is General Washington and offering the step down after 8 years. Not everybody is going to actually find a way to stabilize an actual republic instead of creating yet another, like,
Emperor.
What? Emperor, like, what's the, it's not oligarchy, what's the...
Oligarch?
Is it oligarchy? The one with, where the richest...
Oligarchy? I think that's it.
Alright. it's been a long day.
Or plutocracy?
It's plutocracy. Yeah, you might be right. Anyway, so and nowhere is it more obvious that like history is about to repeat itself than when the president brings all of the surviving victors of the Hunger Games, which is like a room full of like maybe 8 people, including like a lot of the main characters, and she says like, you know, we could execute all the people who were involved, including any of like their children. I guess they mentioned like their children, or we could do another Hunger Games and have like them all fight to the death. That's, you know, and then that'll be a way to like quell the rage. And luckily, Peeta and like a couple other people bring up the fact that that's the worst idea ever.
Yeah, it's the worst idea ever.
Like and I knew what she was bringing up, and I was like, oh no, you're not gonna be that obvious. You're not gonna be that obvious about it. And this was right after Katniss basically rejects Gale, and that's the thing. I feel like they could have been way more obvious whether or not Gale knew, because he says like, I forget if he says exactly how he says it, but it's really vague, and I feel like it just would have been better if he had said like that he was the one who suggested the idea. I'm just saying, it would have been way more interesting. But anyway, so there's this vote between the victors as far as who is going to, like, if they're going to do another Hunger Games. And Katniss says, but either way, I think they said that Snow was going to be executed.
Snow was going to be executed, and all of his highest officers, I guess.
Yeah. But then, and then Katniss says, I'm going to, what does she say? Oh, I vote yes, but only if I get to be the one to shoot him. So she goes out, there's this big, you know, everybody's there.
And not just that, but she's pretty much the deciding vote on doing this Hunger Games thing. So they all believe they're doing this Hunger Games thing, which is really why I'm wondering what her motivation is right here.
I think it's honestly because she says she wants a shot at Snow for Prim, but that's after she knows that President Coin was the one. Yeah. So my feeling is that she knows the best way that she can get a clear shot of Coin is if she's set up as this execution style thing, you know? And sure enough, she goes. So I think it was just the whole idea of like she knew it would be the best way to get an open shot of the person who actually did it. So Snow, who is, by the way, like like they don't even explain his illness. It's just vague blood nose illness, and but he's like strapped up whole, and everybody's around, like the whole city's around, and she's there. Katniss is there in like ready to shoot position, and the new president is above. Behind Snow and saying what a proud day and our daughter who rose from the ranks, blah blah blah, and Katniss takes aim but then shoots President Coin, and she's about to kill herself, and then Peeta, the jerk, takes her suicide pill, pulls it away from her, and she's pissed off. And she gets pulled, like the guards take her, she's about to get ripped in half. Snow is laughing his ass off.
Yeah.
And then he gets ripped apart. He clearly gets just murdered by the mob.
Really?
Oh, he absolutely. I'm pretty sure he got beaten to death by that mob.
Are you sure?
Look, I don't think they say it in the movie, but it's pretty damn clear that he got ripped apart.
I did not see that. I sort of saw him laughing his ass off.
Oh, did you miss that? No, you see the like people behind Katniss, like bum rush
Yeah, I saw the
clearly,
photo.
like, I think that they beat the shit out of him, and like that he just died.
Okay.
I don't think that there's any way that that he wasn't like completely either trampled or just beaten to death by the huge amounts of people that were pissed off that he did not get an arrow through his heart.
I guess.
So, anyway, so she gets to escape because the totally not passed away character that Philip Seymour Hoffman played right before he passed, and they had to kind of cut around his character, basically leaves her a letter. And again, maybe he left her a letter in the movie or in the book, but it seemed like one of those things that probably was actually like said to her in the book. Someone will have to tell me. But basically that like they will figure it out. They will have a vote, like they will have an actual election, and it will probably be the one
General that led the army.
I don't know if it was general or command. It might be commander, but because she's gotten a lot of sway with the people.
Of the other districts.
Yeah, of the other districts. And they said like in a few years you'll get a pardon. Like we'll make sure that, but for right now you need to lay low. So she goes back to District 12 to where like her Victor's house or whatever she was in, and basically it's a ghost town. Like no one's there anymore. It's completely abandoned. And then she has another really good scene where Prim's cat, which I feel like the cat was in District 13, so it just like came back. I don't know. I feel like they brought the cat with them the last time. I can't remember. But Katniss is basically just screaming at her dead sister's pet because she hated that cat. And but it's a really good scene of her just losing it. Which again, like Jennifer Lawrence is really good at those scenes. And then the rest of the movie, which is like just a few little montages, is essentially what's Woody Harrelson's character's name again? Haymitch. Haymitch living in one of the mansions, and Peeta comes to live with her, and they start to bond again and spend time together. And it turns out that the commander or general or whatever did get elected, which is good. And then the way I would have ended it was when she walks into his room, and the whole movie because he's not sure what was truth and what was like planted by the Capitol when he was brainwashed. So he's been asking her things that he thinks are right in his head, and he asks true or false. And so in this last scene, they're holding each other, and he says, "You love me, true or false?" And she says, "True." And I feel like, especially with this like time that they've spent, this little montage of time they've spent away after the war, I totally bought the idea that she got to the point where she could understand herself outside of being one of the tributes. Because I think for the longest time, she couldn't see, like, she lost her identity so hard that she didn't know how she felt about anyone, which I feel like is okay. Like, I felt like that made total sense for the character, and it's one of the reasons why Love's Triangle was so weird, because she just had no clue. She had no idea who she was. You know what I mean? And now she actually had a choice, and so she chose Peeta because they connected. So that I liked. Then it faded to black. And then the next thing we see is her with a baby and a toddler, and like Peeta playing with the toddler, and her in like a floral dress cooing at the baby and talking about how she'll explain her story to it, and it just feels so tacked on and so like out of, not that she couldn't be a mother, but it didn't feel like there was any sense that it made sense for what we've seen of her, and it doesn't make sense that that's how you would end the story, because I feel like if they had ended it with just her and Peeta, like holding each other, that's what the movie was building up to. That's what the whole franchise was building up to. And I thought that they did that really well. And then they had this tacky ending where she's a mother and happy because she's a mother. If they had built up to that idea at all, I wouldn't mind it, but it never crossed up, you know what I mean? And it feels way too
It feels like they clipped in a scene from a different movie.
Yes, it absolutely does. Like, it didn't even, she didn't even look like Katniss to me. And I'm not saying they could have maybe done it a different way and had her be a mother in a different way, but it felt too, weirdly, and then they lived happily ever after, which is never what the movie...
She became a Stepford wife.
Which is never what the movie seemed to be about. It was never about them being happily ever after, but finding some peace. And again, that scene right before it was about them finding peace and content. That I believed. So I was really angry with how it ended. And I think it does end that way in the book, with them happy family. And I did not believe it. It was not set up well. And I was really disappointed with that part. And I felt like it did not need to be there. So that's how I feel about it. Mike, you want to say anything else? Because I'm really getting tired.
I know. I wanted to say that going back to that Haymitch scene at the end where he's reading the letter from Philip Seymour Hoffman's character.
Yeah.
That was pretty much blatantly obvious that was supposed to be a scene where Philip Seymour Hoffman's character came in and talked to Katniss, because he's done that pretty much in every other movie.
Yeah.
I kind of think that scene really doesn't work there. And what I would have rather have seen is have Katniss move back to District 12 and all that sort of stuff. That scene happens by Haymitch coming in and explaining what's going on, and just in a Haymitch way, not reading Philip Seymour Hoffman's letter, and then sending her back to District 12, and then a letter comes from, what's his name, by the way?
Plutarch?
Maybe? If the letter, if she's in District 12, it makes sense that a letter comes, and talking this stuff out to her, and then it could be part of that ending, and you can skip some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
Especially the president getting elected, you don't really need that scene as much. You can skip around in some things there by putting that letter in there.
Yeah.
And you could even film the montage to Katniss reading that letter from Plutarch.
Yeah.
And you could rush that ending up a little bit more by doing it with a montage segment. I just really think that ending just really doesn't work very well at all.
Yeah, there were a lot of parts that felt like they cut out a lot from the book, but then they kept in really tedious things from the book. And this has been a problem with the series pretty consistently, you know what I mean? That it didn't feel like they understood what they should keep in to make the story make the most sense, but also what they should clip to make it make the most sense in the medium. I don't think they ever really got that. And honestly, the subway scene just confirmed that to me. The other thing I will say before we do final thoughts really quick is that I did like that Effie and Haymitch had one last scene, because their relationship, as far as being not liking each other at all, to respectful begrudging respect, and then finally actually caring about each other, and having a semi-platonic kiss at the end. It was very vague. They at least got to the point where a kiss on the lips is was apparently something that they were both totally okay with, even if the whole romance wasn't necessarily a thing that actually happened. And I really liked the fact that they did put in little spots for Effie, and I liked that we got a little more of the Haymitch-Effie dynamic just at the end, because I found that just super interesting.
Yeah. And here's the thing with the movie. They don't focus on the interesting things. They put them in as just little bits of interesting things.
Yeah.
And they focus on the things that aren't very interesting.
That's a good point. And I think that might be a problem with the second half of the series in general. Like, the last two movies really had that problem. The first two movies, I feel like, had a lot more of the interesting bits, more of the character bits that were interesting, more of the satire and, like, the, you know what I mean, the metaphors for actual things going on. So, yeah, it kind of dragged, and in general, I feel like this is definitely a rental unless you really, really want to see it on the big screen. If you're a die-hard book fan, you probably want to see it in theaters, but I honestly, this feels very much like an on-demand or Netflix sort of watch, if you just don't mind. Or Redbox.
Right.
Yeah, or Redbox. So I'm exhausted. Mike's exhausted. We're gonna get going, I think, unless you got any final words.
My contacts are super dry, so I might stop so we get the last one.
Alright. Well, Katie and Mike, justplainsomething.com, and we'll see you later. She just starts smiling, and she's like, so I find those two so interesting, and I was really mad we didn't get to see more of that towards the end, because she was barely in the last movie. Again, it was a super bummer, and also because Jenna Malone is going to play someone with red hair in the DCU movies.
Hoping it's Barbara?
I'm hoping it's Barbara. Like, I'm sorry. She's like playing it. She's being introduced, presumably, in the new Batman vs. Superman movie. And like, in my brain, I'm thinking it just makes sense. So I'm hoping that that's how it goes down. Besides that, I'm trying to think if there are any other performances in particular. We didn't get to see enough of Elizabeth Banks as Effie, even though I was glad that she was in it.
Yeah, she's really one of those characters that like really ties the series together.
Yeah, same thing with Stanley Tucci. You see him in one scene, but I was really appreciative that they were able to slide him back in for one more scene.
Yeah.
You know, I would have really liked to find out what happened to him.
I would have, found out what happened to him, or at least actually seen it from the show point of view rather than on a television screen.
Yeah.
Like, actually seen the studio that he was working from.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Which may have just been a green screen.
Probably, yeah.
You know,
and then,
with the Capitol in ruins.
Then Natalie Dormer was in it, you know, as with her side cut, which was awesome. And then Eldon Henson, who played, in Daredevil. What was his best friend in Daredevil? The best friend character in Daredevil. What was his name?
Foggy.
Foggy, yeah.
Sorry, I am trying to look at the road, make sure we're still going the right direction.
Are we still going? Yeah.
He is the Mako of this universe.
Except, like, oh wait, yeah, Mako. Yeah, kind of. I don't know. I don't think you give Mako quite enough credit. Mako's a more developed character.
Very true. Mako is a more developed character.
Woody Harrelson continues to be great as Haymitch.
Yes, he is fabulous as that character. I really do love that character.
And I actually liked Donald Sutherland as President Snow. And towards the end. Yeah, I thought he did. I really
wanted more stuff with him and Katniss.
Yeah.
That's what I want out of this movie, and they didn't deliver that very much.
I do appreciate the fact that, like, there's a part where he says, I thought we agreed we would never lie to each other. Or he said, like, I would, and you do get the sense that, like, he will lie to everyone else, but he was being quite honest Now, he wanted to be nice about it, and he was totally like being sneery and mocking of her, but he was very frank about the fact that he would not lie to her.
If there's anything that I would have wanted out of an ending to this movie, is to have her and Snow just be this, like Snow be her Magneto. Just someone that Professor X keeps in the cage and talks to when he needs to.
Maybe.
Like Magneto at the end of X.
You know who the dynamic I really liked was Joanna, like Jenna Malone. You know, the girl that they brought back.
Yeah.
Her and Katniss's dynamic, which I've heard like is something that is a fan favorite, like those two kind of playing off each other. And there is this sense of like, because she talks about how like Joanna talks about how she hates Katniss, but you really know that under all that like sneering and bitterness that she doesn't, because as soon as Katniss says, I'm going to kill things, that did not translate particularly well to a movie format, and some of that was probably the fact that the book was split up into 2 movies, but some of it was simply because like they were underground for so long. Like a lot of the scenes were just set underground, and there was also like there are just elements of the movie that maybe worked better in the book but felt really anticlimactic. So I feel like if you were watching this as a full, like as a marathon, maybe you would feel there'd be more sense of
more cohesiveness,
a more sense of a full story, and a story that kind of made sense from beginning to end. But just this movie on its own, after like months and months and months since we saw the first part of the Mockingjay story, it's okay, but not great. Like, it wasn't particularly enjoyable to me.
This was not an enjoyable film to me. It was.
There are parts that I actually thought were interesting.
Yes, there were interesting things, and there were good things. There were scenes that were well acted at times.
But there was also a lot of like working parts that felt like they didn't get enough focus, and it was very similar. I'm sure it's exactly the way that people who never read the Harry Potter movies, who never read the Harry Potter books, but watched all the Harry Potter movies, including the last one, how they felt about the last 2 films, because there are certainly elements of that felt like super rushed and like crammed together, and I'm certain that that's how it was for people who like this series. So yeah, I guess I don't even know what to say about it.
This is normally the part where we break down what the plot of the movie was about.
It's so hard.
But here's the thing.
Hey everyone, it's Katie and Mike. Say hi, Mike.
Hi everybody.
We relatively recently, we might have gone home and then come back and decided, because I'm driving back up to Chicago tonight, so we went home and packed, and now we're actually driving to Chicago. But before we did that, Mike was really adamant about seeing a movie this weekend.
Yes, we should really start seeing more movies.
Yeah, it's been busy. But we went to see The Hunger Games, which one is this?
Catching Fire Part 2?
No, it's Mockingjay Part 2.
Ah.
Catching Fire was the first one, and I think it only had 1. So we have still not read the books. We got through every review for every movie, because we saw every movie in the theaters, and we kept saying, oh, we should really read the books, and we got through the entire movie franchise, including 2, like the last book being split up into 2 movies, and we still didn't read the damn books. So we have very little clue what was changed, what was focused on. I did hear that the ending, like someone who really hated the ending of the book thought that they did a better job, like it made more sense in the movie, but was still kind of stupid. but it made more sense. So they were like, good job on the movie for making it be less crappy. I thought that there were some interesting things brought up, and I thought that there was also a lot of like,
the movie was like sort of so molassesy, like it was slow, and it was just sort of like, the plot is, hey, the war's been going on for a while, let's have some melodrama going on between the friends, and
also and I guess we need to end the war and have the big conclusion. That's basically what this movie is. And it is very obvious that it was split up, like that the first part and the second part were not supposed to be originally split up. I don't think they necessarily work well. I don't know how well they would have worked together as like a full movie, but I don't know if there was enough for each of them to split them up either. It's a very awkward like middle ground, because I'm sure that a lot of stuff would have been cut out if it was only one movie.
Here's the thing I'm gonna say. Jennifer Lawrence, right?
Yeah.
She is too good for this movie.
I know! She's a very good actress. Actually, and there were some good performances. Is it Josh Hutcherson? I can't talk. Yeah, Hutcherson.
Really? You liked him?
I thought that he did a good job, considering that he had like really challenging stuff in front of him, you know?
I thought he was boring milquetoast.
Which one are you talking? Peeta?
Not Peeta, the other dude.
No, that's Liam Hemsworth. That's Chris Hemsworth's brother. No,
he was boring.
Yeah, but I'm talking, Josh Hutcherson was Peeta.
Oh, Peeta?
Yeah. Okay,
Peeta at least had stuff.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I don't think very few people, one of the things I've heard is that, like, Gale is always awful. That they're like, shut up, Gale, stop talking about how you would totally kill people, and you don't mind it. Like, yeah.